Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Department Podcast. This is episode 4 of the Department Podcast. I am Stephen Clark, joined by my fellow friends over here, Justin Valentovic and Jesse Norman. Fellas, before we get into the wrestling, how are we doing right now?
Pretty good. Orioles won, beat Boston 7-2, so I'm happy about that. Never in doubt with that team.
Right. Nice win for the Orioles.
1-1, so the road to 59-1 is started. So see you guys in the playoffs.
Hopefully. Jesse, how are your White Sox doing?
White Sox are about to win. They had a very interesting game last night against the Twins. Started out – so I was watching the game. They go behind like 4-1. I'm like, all right, they're done. Second inning, they end up tying it 5-5. And then I don't know. I didn't even go back into it. Pretty sure they lost, though.
Yeah, probably, honestly. But
they're about to beat the Twins now, 10-3, top
good,
8.
Good for them. Good for the White Sox. I'm glad you found a team that you can stick to and enjoy watching. But besides wrestling, I want to just bring up the fact that Regis Philbin just passed away a couple of hours ago. I think it just came out, the news on Twitter. Yeah. Prayers to his family and all that. He had a big impact on the wrestling world, too. He was at Wrestlemania 7, I believe, Hulk Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter. He did some interviews back then. He had multiple wrestlers from the 80s and 90s on his show. He had Macho Man, The Undertaker, Yokozuna, a lot of guys like that were on his show. So prayers to his family. My thoughts go out to his family and all of his friends. All right. Do you want to get into some wrestling now?
Yeah.
So we're going to go outside the ring. A little controversial stuff happened on the Pat Macafee show a couple of days ago. So let's set the scene for a second. You got Pat Macafee. You got his guest, Adam Cole, baby, on his show. They're bickering the whole show about how Pat's bickering about Adam Cole, how he gets help from the Undisputed Era and a lot of other stuff, questioning his longest title reign in NXT history. And then Pat proceeds to call Adam Cole one of the shorter guys on the roster, one of the smaller guys. This sent Adam Cole over the edge. He shoves down the microphone, drops an F-bomb, saying it to Pat, pushes
multiple F-bombs,
which we will not be saying on this show. Says that to Pat, storms out of the studio, and basically says, I left my family to come for this show, blah, blah, blah. What are your guys' thoughts on this?
So it's the big debate now is if it's a work or a shoot.
Yes.
The way initially it looked like it was, real. Yeah. Because if it was a WWE promotional type of thing, I don't think they would want Adam Cole dropping multiple F-bombs and, being physical with someone, not even a wrestler.
What condition does he have, the guy who he pushed? He has some sort of condition. I forgot. Pat McAfee tweeted it out, but he has a condition. So,
But then at the same time, when you look back at it, because I watched this multiple times, it seems like, when Pat was bringing up the title reign, he was talking about it almost as if wrestling was real.
Yes.
So the lines were kind of blurred on that one.
Yes.
But also, I watched the Pat McAfee show, and he's not one to seem very worked up or angry. So to call him, like a dick in multiple things, like as he's storming out, seemed very out of character at the same time, as if he really was pissed off.
Mm-hmm. And we know Pat McAfee's not afraid to show his emotions at all, because there was a story that came out at WrestleMania 35 where he was going to wear shorts out to the ring, or not to the ring, or to do his announcing or whatever, and Michael Cole kind of got in his face and told him you're to look like an idiot or whatever. He's not afraid to tell people his thoughts. So,
but see, then that's the thing too, is where he has the connection to the WWE.
Yeah. That was my biggest thing, is the connection to the WWE makes me think that it's a work, but also like I don't know exactly what exactly it would be for, because I don't think McAfee's going to step into the ring.
Yeah, he's never hinted at it. And, obviously, the Gronk experiment blew up in their face with him going back to the NFL, his action figure's coming out now. And to put Cole in, a celebrity versus wrestler type of match is just insulting then.
Yeah, especially to go out of NXT like that. You're one of the top, if not the top NXT star of all time. And to go out versus a former NFL punter is not the right way. Personally, I think it was a work up until he called him short. I think he went over the edge there, and Adam Cole's probably very sensitive about that subject because he's been told that probably many times, and it just sent Adam Cole over the edge there. I don't know if there's going to be repercussions for it, but there should be if it wasn't a work. So that's that for now. Honestly, we have no further.
Yeah,
no further info.
Nothing's really come about it. You know, the WWE hasn't said anything about it. Nothing really from Pat Macafee. Because I feel like if it was fake, something would have come out by now at that point.
Probably.
You know, maybe they were just jabbing at each other back and forth, and then it just, you know, you don't know when you cross that line until you actually cross that line when,
exactly.
You know, poking at like jabs at people. Maybe that's just what happened.
Probably. Honestly, you're probably right. Continuing with outside of the ring news, there is a rumor going around that Edge and Randy Orton will be facing each other at WrestleMania 37 in an I Quit match. Interesting.
I mean, how long is Edge supposed to be scheduled out for?
Well, he tore his tricep, right?
Tricep,
yeah.
Yes.
That's what, 6 months usually?
That's 6 months or so.
6 months unless you're John Cena, and then it's 2.5.
So do we get another Rumble return? Is that what this is going to lead to again?
It would probably be Rumble.
It probably
return,
has to be.
Or if he's back by Survivor Series, have like a mystery, tag.
Oh, no way he's back by Survivor Series.
It's possible. He got hurt.
He's an older man.
Yeah.
I don't think if you told me his timetable is like 4 to 6 months, I would definitely lean more on the 6 months than the 4 months.
True.
So I wouldn't expect him back before the Rumble, but if he comes back at the Rumble again,
yeah,
I think he would need to win it, because like the sad thing is like Edge has had this great comeback and everything,
yeah,
but he's been hurt already twice.
It would take away from his initial return too. I feel. Like returning to the Rumble 2 years in a row, it just takes something away, like the specialness out of the first time.
Well, especially considering he returned in a Rumble before.
No, you're
when
right.
He was still wrestling.
Yeah.
And he won that one, right?
He did win that one.
So if he came back then again, in 2021's Rumble, he'd have to win it. And if that's the case, then Randy would need the belt on him.
Well, I still think you have to run Randy Drew pretty soon to get Randy this, because Randy's at the top of his game. We'll get to that when we get to Raw, but Randy's at the top of his game right now. He needs that world title. I think it'd be he'll be the best heel. If he's already not the best heel in the industry right now, he will be the best heel once he has that title.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, like, I don't know if you want to waste more of, and not waste, but like, do you want to spend more time on Edge's return where we don't know how many matches he has? Are you going to put a third Randy Orton match out there after they already had that incredible Backlash match?
Oh, yeah.
That was I would say easily their best match individually, I would say, for both of them of all time for me.
Wow. High praise.
Best singles match I've ever seen from either of them.
Yeah, a match of the year for sure, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The only one that's up there for me is like Firefly Funhouse, Boneyard, which Rumble. Are two cinematic ones. Yeah. Or like the Rumble, which is 30-man. But just straight up one-on-one match, that so far has been the best for me. So I don't know if you want to do you do WrestleMania 37 I Quit match where you do a 36 last man standing?
You gotta have a rubber match though. What was that, Justin?
It's almost the same build up then at that point,
It is, but they do need a rubber match.
They need the blow off.
Yeah, exactly.
Somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I just would rather do that before Mania and give Edge something fresh for Mania instead of just like telling, because it's a year-long story, but only if Orton gets the belt soon and holds it for a while.
Yeah.
And then Edge comes back to end his reign.
That's fine.
Or if he's ready by Rumble, what they could do is maybe, make it speculation where like Randy's calling him out, and he's not sure if he'll show up to, to Rumble, and then he does, and have the blow off at Rumble. That way, then you don't have to put either in the title picture.
Well, and if you have the match at Rumble, then Edge takes the belt, you have some younger guy win the Rumble, then you have the next program for Edge, or you put him into the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
Which at that point, I would not put Edge in the Chamber.
No, that's
considering all the injuries he's had.
If they can fit a chamber inside the Performance Center too, if they're still in the
God,
yeah, I didn't even think about that.
So I don't know. That's the future though. That
Hell in a Cell might not be in October then.
Yeah, they might not be able to run it unless they do it outside or something. They build it outside. I don't know.
They might. Oh,
it's possible. I still think SummerSlam should be on the beach. I still think it's so easy.
That's what they have to do.
Right on the beach. Just wait for a nice day, film it over a couple of days. That's fine, and just do it on the beach. But speaking of SummerSlam, should SummerSlam be 2 nights like WrestleMania, or keep it to 1 night? Because this is our only second Big Four pay-per-view we've seen in the COVID-19 era. So should we move it to 2 nights like WrestleMania?
I'm going to say no.
For personal reasons, I would say yes.
Oh.
Personal, yes. But for money and viewership, I'd say no, especially with baseball being back. It'll be the heart of the NBA at that point. You'll be in the playoffs basically at that point.
Yep.
You know, there's too much competition. You know, they lucked out and lightning struck like twice for them, where basically every other sport was gone for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
You know, so all eyes were on them. I don't think they would get the numbers they did for WrestleMania if they did 2 nights for SummerSlam because baseball's back now.
I agree too. I think keeping it 1 night's the way to go. And just if they have
Were
to
they
do
floating
WrestleMania,
that idea?
Yeah, it's rumored right now. It's rumored that it could be 2 nights.
I think they jumped the shark then if they did 2 nights for SummerSlam.
Well, as of right now, it's just 1 night because there were a couple of promos on Raw and SmackDown commercials. I mean, so it's 1 night for right now, but hey, could be 2. We don't know.
Mania was great as 2 nights, but as Justin said, there was nothing else really competing with it.
Mm-hmm.
They were also helped that both nights had great matches.
Yeah, and there's also a difference between WrestleMania and SummerSlam.
Yes.
Exactly. So
yeah, SummerSlam is probably their second biggest pay-per-view, but it's still not anywhere close to Mania.
True.
So I think they should, if they're doubling down on this shorter pay-per-views thing, like they've been, like we've seen every pay-per-view go under 3 hours essentially.
Lovely.
You should realistically SummerSlam you could make into 5 hours and do 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Like on a Saturday and then a Sunday.
But I think they're running TakeOver too, so we have to incorporate that somewhere.
Yeah.
So
then they could do the TakeOver on Friday, but we'll see. True. I think they do end up doing just 1 night.
But then if that's the case, then they would almost have to dump SummerSlam, SmackDown, which they wouldn't do.
True. Then SmackDown.
Yeah.
It has to be 1 night.
I think they have to do 1 night.
1 night. Continuing, but jumping away from WWE for a little bit, Gallows and Anderson. We saw them show up in TNA at Slammiversary. They were on Impact last week. But if they were to join AEW, they said they would have been in the Inner Circle in Chris Jericho's little group there. So I'd probably, instead of Santana and Ortiz, obviously.
It would have been them.
Yeah, it would have been replacing Santana and Ortiz. I would have liked to see this, honestly. I think they're a better fit than Santana and Ortiz, but I don't know. I would have liked to see this. So, but good for them for signing with Impact, I guess.
And everyone else would basically jump ship to Impact now, too.
Yeah, Brian Myers is now jumping over, too. Eric Young, Miss Heath Slater, they're all there now, too. So, good for them. They got jobs now.
But I think that's good. I think Impact has been pretty overrated or underrated for like the past year or two, especially with AEW really breaking it into the mainstream and stuff like that, and being so waited for. Everybody was so excited for AEW. I don't think anybody was really watching Impact, but I think this is a big get for them. Any of those guys, Gallows and Anderson, were never used right in WWE.
True.
Not the best they ever were was when they were with AJ the first time and they were feuding with Cena.
Yeah.
And ever since then, they really, WWE did not know how to use them or didn't want to.
No.
So I think the reason, especially too, for Gallows and Anderson going to Impact is we've seen how Impact treats former WWE guys. There's a good track record there where they understand that they have a bigger name and they have a better working relationship, where AEW doesn't have that many guys necessarily who have jumped over besides, Luke Harper, and obviously Jericho, but he started the
already,
company kind of.
Yeah.
Cody, who was an independent, like those guys have been away from WWE for a good amount of time.
Yeah,
but
I like TNA. I like TNA because they have a good mix right now. They have a lot of veterans there, but they also have a bunch of young, up-and-coming guys that are really, really good.
So would you make them the 3 or 4th biggest, like, the company in WWE, in, U.S. then for promotion?
They're 3 right now, Impact.
They're 3.
So they jumped Ring of Honor then?
Ring of Honor fallen off so hard, especially with the accusations of Marty Skrull and all that, because Marty Skrull was
pretty much their
guy.
He was their only thing,
and
they
now that
really left.
Those allegations came out, they've fallen. And I don't really pay attention to New Japan or any of that.
And really, the death of Ring of Honor almost came with the beginning of AEW, really.
Yeah, and even before that, NXT bringing in
was killing them too.
Yeah, Triple H bought the Indies. We know all that.
Pretty much, yeah. So anybody that ROH had left that WWE didn't get, AEW pretty much took.
If you go back 10 years ago and look at the Ring of Honor roster, majority of those guys are in WWE basically.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You got Rollins, you got Owens, you got Sami Zayn, Cesaro, all these guys.
And that was when WWE tried to stay away from signing any guys, and they only wanted homegrown guys.
Yeah. Well, and eventually they didn't have a choice because those homegrown guys, none of them were working.
Exactly.
Their biggest homegrown guy at the time when they started to sign the ROH was Ryback, who was unsafe to work with anybody.
Jesus.
Not
a fan. Just 2 quotes before we get into the wrestling shows of the week. One comes from new TNA star Eric Young. He said, "The WWE system is broken. The system is flawed, and it's Vince to blame." That's it. That's I guess.
Is he talking about like pushes? I guess
in general.
This is what I think he has to be referencing, and it makes sense from his degree. Eric Young, when he was Insanity in NXT, they were a big deal. They were around a lot. They were incorporated. They were incorporated into storylines. They were a big deal. They moved to the main roster.
Nothing.
Literally nothing. And I mean, think about it. Who has gone from NXT to WWE's main roster and really like carried over that momentum? Because I can't think of like anybody. I mean, Shinsuke was the most hot that you could have when he moved over. Yeah. And they fumbled it for a while. They waited, and then they did the Money in the Bank stare down thing, which was exciting. And then they just took too long with Shinsuke.
Yeah. And then, momentum died off with the Universal injury.
And with the injury that they never trusted him again. I mean, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, I mean, all these guys that Samoa Joe, I mean, got injured a couple times, but how many times can you get a former NXT champion who looks like he's done everything possible and really take them and put a rocket on them? Because you could say now they're doing it with Drew, but Drew kind of fumbled around on the main card for like 9 months.
It took long enough. Yeah, it took long enough to get to that spot.
I think Eric Young has a point where he's saying it's Vince's fault because Vince doesn't have as much to do with NXT, and we've seen how NXT makes stars. Every time that NXT seems gutted and like they took all the main stars, they just reload and they have another set.
Insane.
Like
so
they
quickly too.
People thought, Finn's gone, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Samoa Joe, Shinsuke, they're all gone. Okay, Adam Cole, the Undisputed Era, for a short amount of time, Velveteen before, everything that's happened now. Yeah. But like Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa.
Keith Lee and everyone.
Yeah, they just keep reloading.
Hell, and when Keith Lee leaves, they have Bronson Reed now who they're building up to be in the ladder match.
So, but then you look at like who is at the top of the WWE card? That was an NXT guy besides Drew McIntyre. And even then, you could say McIntyre could have kind of been helped because Vince already knew him from 10 years ago.
That's true.
And dubbed him the next big thing.
Vince likes pushing people from NXT that weren't used on NXT.
Yes,
because
he loved Apollo Crews for whatever reason.
Because it's almost like then he wants to claim them as his own then rather than a Triple H creation.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Like Elias, Braun Strowman,
Baron Corbin.
Exactly.
These are all guys who weren't even given like
Lacey Evans.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like there's so many.
There were so many more like people.
Even though they're not being used, he called up the Forgotten Sons.
Yeah.
Like,
and they're forgotten.
No,
well, and to a degree, like you've seen the Street Profits being used a lot when Heyman was there. Yeah. And I think that's really been pulled back.
Yeah, they're to lose the titles at SummerSlam probably.
Look at the women's division. We're talking about how much it's struggling. Bianca Belair is just chilling at main event.
There you go.
She's just doing nothing.
I know. No, you're right.
And then to your point earlier, Nikki Cross, who was in Sanity, was probably the least used part of Sanity.
Literally the least.
Is going to be the number one contender again.
To just lose,
probably.
So I think he has a big point.
Me too.
I think we started to be so frustrated with Vince treating NXT talent so badly that we started to be like, okay, maybe it's not so bad. Like we tried to backtrack a little, but no, it's bad.
It's bad.
It's bad. It's really bad. Like there is no guy besides Drew who again was in WWE before that really has made it to any type of higher height.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Nothing else to say on that. Unless, Justin, you have anything.
No, I agree.
Good. Okay. Last quote before we get into Monday Night Raw. AJ Styles. The reason why I went to SmackDown is because I couldn't stand looking at him. In parentheses, Paul Heyman. Apparently, he was the reason the Good Brothers got fired, too. That's probably why.
That's why. He's just been pissy since they got fired, basically.
Yeah, but he belongs on SmackDown. AJ.
Yeah.
I never was a fan of him on Raw. He's like
he didn't fit
through
Raw.
No.
He didn't fit Raw.
Like
SmackDown was more of the wrestling show. Raw is more of the entertainment show.
Like he's like Ruthless Aggression Undertaker in a way. He has to be on SmackDown.
Yeah.
He has to be on SmackDown. Like having him on Raw, no. So that's that. That's outside the ring. Let's get into some Monday Night Raw. And the biggest name on Monday Night Raw right now, I can't believe I'm saying this in 2020, is Randy Orton. Randy Orton, like I touched on earlier, is at the top of his game right now. Had a really good match, actually, against the Big Show, an unsanctioned match. It was very entertaining. Big Show looks great. Orton looked even better. Very enjoyable.
See, so just looking at from just two, like, kind of not part-time guys, like Big Show obviously hasn't wrestled that often. I think the last big thing he did, besides the Cesaro and Sheamus bar thing, was him with Braun Strowman a couple of years ago.
That random Drew thing after WrestleMania.
Yes.
That was put on Raw then.
So stupid.
But Big Show looks good. Yeah. Randy looks good. I think that can also be a testament to them lowering the house show schedule. Because you're just not – like Randy, I think, is able to go at a higher rate when he doesn't have those house shows to go to.
For sure.
Yeah.
And Big Show is obviously fresh for the first time in a long time because, his Netflix show is done for now.
It should be done permanently.
Sorry, Big Show. Sorry,
it's not that bad.
It's not that good.
It's a family show.
It's a family show.
It's a family show.
Clark, would you rather watch Glow or the Big Show show?
Big Show show.
That's a tough one. That's a tough.
Actually, give me Chaperone by Triple H.
I'll take Glow. Oh Jesus! I'll take Glow. I'll take Glow on this one because Glow actually has a decent story sometimes, but and also
it
has
like that the Big Show does not have incredible plot points.
I didn't say it. You said it, but
it's the Glow, next great American sitcom.
Glow also had like Carlito in it and Chavo Guerrero, but yeah, Orton's at the top of his game. But switching from that, they're teasing another Drew and Dolph match coming up.
I don't need it. Drew got his –
I don't know.
He got his one go-around with the belt, a title match per year. Fine, get it out of the way. I don't need it again.
The only way I'm okay with this is if they do the title match like next week on Raw and then they try to set something up for SummerSlam that doesn't include Dolph. If they run Drew Dolph at SummerSlam, it's a wash.
Yeah.
It's a joke at that point.
Yeah, and apparently Drew gets to pick the stipulation for this match now.
Okay.
He already won. He won the match that Dolph picked.
I know.
Yeah, there's no.
Why does he need to? Does he just want to beat Dolph up more?
And knowing the writing the team, they'll probably have to be like, well, Drew's a good guy, so who says we'll just do a normal match type of thing, you know?
Drew just wants to prove he's the better wrestler, but he already did that. By winning in a match that he couldn't use weapons.
I'll be okay if they run this match on Raw. Just don't put it on SummerSlam.
If this is the SummerSlam main event, the show sucks then.
Oh, it wouldn't even come close to the main event.
No, we have it'd probably be Fiend Strowman if we're being honest.
I hope.
Which is definitely gotta be, but nobody wants more Drew Dolph. The match was fine. It was good. Like, you don't need to run it again. This story has already been told. They've ran the Drew Dolph thing many times now. It's not like a secret that Dolph brought Drew up to the main card.
Yeah, no, like they ran its course with it. I can't see.
They ran it once when he wasn't the champion, and then now they've run it again when he is the champion.
I know.
And Drew dominated. The only reason Dolph was even somewhat viable was because he used some weapons, and even then he lost, which was the right call.
Yeah, it was great. That match was great. Like I said, it was my match of the night for the pay-per-view. Can't think of the name. Extreme Rules. Jeez.
There we go. That's what we had.
I would hold off on putting the title on Orton for just a little bit longer because I think there's some other things you can do with Orton.
I'd put it on him by Survivor Series.
Yeah, well, what I would do if I had to put it on Orton and start an Orton-McIntyre feud is have the match like next week between Drew and Dolph. Drew beats him in like 5 minutes or so at the end of the show. And then Orton comes out and punt kicks him.
Yeah.
And then you just set that up for SummerSlam. I think that if you don't want to do Drew Dolph at SummerSlam, which nobody wants them to.
Yeah.
The only other guy you can shift into that spot as far as I'm concerned is Orton.
Yeah, no, I agree. It has to be Orton.
Unless you put Seth back in, but that doesn't
make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. It should be Orton. Dolph, just run this on Raw, and that's fine. Get it done with. Put Dolph back to the mid-card. Fine. Kairi Sane, Bayley had a great match. That's all I wanted to say about that. Kairi Sane's rumored to be going back to Japan. I think she is.
Kairi Sane's so good. Another one that was good. Another one that was so good on NXT. Moved her up to the main roster. We're like, put her with Asuka. Why?
Bayley's kind of another one up until now too. She was just floating around.
Yeah,
Bayley for all of her career, and I would still say now, was always easily the fourth of the four horsewomen.
Yeah,
she was the Ringo. She was the Ringo of the group.
Oh yeah, they did, and Bayley was such a face, and they ruined it so hard that they had to make her heel, and now she's such a heel. That you can't make her face.
Can't make her face if one of them turn on each other, which is bound to happen.
And it's so bad because Sasha's clearly a worse face than Bayley.
Yeah, but I mean, is this leading to a winner take all? You think eventually, Bayley Sasha?
I think so.
Think so.
Maybe, but I don't want them to split them up anytime soon. I think if you do winner take all, it should be at Mania. Or if you okay, hear me out here, right?
I'm hearing.
Bayley ends up winning both titles.
Yes.
Throughout time. And then Sasha wins the Rumble.
Ooh.
And there's nobody else she can face except for maybe the NXT champ, and then Bayley's like, oh, yeah, take the NXT title, and then we have all the belts. And Sasha's like, yeah, I'll do that. And then she turns on her.
That'd be fun.
Kind of like the Batista Triple H, where, Triple H is like, yeah, go take the Smackdown belt, and then we, kind of run this together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sounds good. Actually, no, I want your belts.
No.
I think that's the best case scenario. But right now, Bayley and Banks are as far as I'm concerned, the best thing on TV.
For sure. Most entertaining, most talented, most everything right now. Fantastic. Let's see. Ruby Riott got a win. Finally.
Okay.
Finally.
That's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Does nothing for me.
No. Raw tag team titles. I want to talk about this a little bit. It's wide open, this field of what they're going to do. I originally thought they were going to run the Street Profits versus Angel Garza and Andrade at SummerSlam, but they ran it on Raw, and the Street Profits won clean. So
there's no point to rehash it then.
What teams? Like
there are none left.
That's the thing. Like, what are they going to do for SummerSlam with that? It's just do a triple threat with the Vikings in them?
I guess.
I would assume, and that match would be good, but it would probably end up on the pre-show, or it would go 5 minutes shorter than it should.
Yeah, no.
The Viking Raiders, another one.
Another one.
Do you guys remember the match they had with Ricochet and Aleister Black at TakeOver?
New York.
New York,
yeah. Fantastic.
Insane, so good.
Then they called up the Viking Experience like a couple nights from then. No, they weren't. No, that was later in the whatever. But they were Viking Experience.
But no,
they messed around with them so hard.
The next year, yeah,
it's so bad.
Yeah,
and they're two big men that can do multiple skill sets of things and can work with pretty much anybody, any tag team. They can work as heels. They can work as faces. They can work a smaller tag team. They can work a big tag team. Like if they were to have a match with like AOP, barring AOP ever being healthy again, they could do it all. And it just doesn't seem to really matter.
And the last thing from Monday Night Raw I want to touch on is that we saw a return in Mustafa Ali, and he wasn't the hacker. So I think they scrapped that for now.
They scrapped it for now, but they'll bring it back randomly whenever they need to fill a plot hole.
Yeah.
Is basically what it is.
Why? It was there for you.
It was great.
It was
entertaining.
There.
It was entertaining.
Even if you guys didn't write it, everybody else in the world was like, Mustafa Ali is the hacker. Let's have him come back. Strap a rocket to him. Give him the IC belt. Something. Give him the US belt. Something. Nope.
You could just make his own US belt at this point.
It was too easy. It was too easy, so they fumbled it.
But they won their match, which was interesting this week against against MVP Squad, I think. MVP, Shelton Benjamin, and so they won though. Ali got the pinfall victory. So I don't know. And Ricochet and Cedric were on his team, by the way. So it was good to see them get a win
Ricochet.
too. Got to often. Ricochet. There you go. Another one.
Ricochet.
Even Aleister Black too.
He's
Black. They just haven't used.
He's just stuck with Rollins right now.
Yeah.
He's literally just stuck
and
with
he just
Rollins.
keeps losing.
But like, for what reason is he siding with Mysterio?
I don't know.
Like, there's no logistical reason.
It's supposed to be like Black
thing?
is like, I'm not a good guy. I'm not a bad guy.
I'm the guy.
But Rollins is a bad guy.
And if he's defending the guy,
to stop him.
But if he's defending the guy who got his eye gouged out, then that makes him a good guy because he's protecting people.
I guess, but he just acts like he doesn't.
Look, Black.
Go back to NXT.
Ring.
That's the best thing.
Go back to NXT. Ricochet Cedric too. Put him back to NXT. Make him a tag team in NXT. NXT needs tag teams. So
everywhere
the
needs
main
tag
roster
teams.
needs tag teams. They might as well just kept Black and Ricochet together.
They lost another tag team with Kofi being hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. But there goes another tag team. They're down.
Honestly,
Aleister Black was, to me, the most interesting character when he got pulled up to the main roster. And then everybody was like, oh, I can't wait for Aleister Black Fiend. Nope. Didn't happen. Never happened. I don't even think it ever will happen.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't.
It would make sense if you kept Aleister out of every title picture to try to just keep building him up and building him up and building him up, but that's not what's going on.
Nope.
No.
So what is he supposed to even be doing? I was like, oh, okay. After him and Ricochet, the tag team broke up. I was like, all right, sounds good. They're finally going to go do their own singles thing. That's good because they're really good singles wrestlers.
Nope.
Doesn't matter.
No. But that's it for Monday Night Raw. Not a bad show. So I thought it was pretty good. Actually, if I'm being honest, they're setting up, starting to plant some seeds for SummerSlam, and it's coming together. But
I think the Bayley-Kairi Sane match really saved the show.
It was phenomenal. It was a great match.
Raw has always been a tough watch for the 3 hours, especially now, though. It's really getting hard.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's like you said, now with COVID-19 and all that. And just that
they're down so many people.
They are.
They don't have the depth at this point for a 3-hour show.
No, they don't. Which sucks because they have that. It's the contract. If they could move to 2, they probably would.
They could easily, but say they did like a recap, for the first hour of the week prior. Just condense it down, just the highlights. Boom, move into the 2 and 3 hours. Normal Raw. Show.
That'd be fine. I'd be okay with that. That'd save me time watching it too. I wouldn't watch the first hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's move to the Wednesday Night Wars now a little bit. We'll start with NXT. And the show opens up, it was rumored for like the past couple of days before that William Regal was going to make a big announcement on NXT. But he didn't even make he did make an announcement. But before he made his announcement, Keith Lee pops up from his home and says he's going to relinquish the North American title. This goes on to cut back to Regal, and Regal says there will be a ladder match at NXT TakeOver 30 for the vacant North American title. I think this was the right move.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah,
agreed.
Okay,
I think you don't keep the belt on Lee. Like you don't tell the story that Lee is either 1, incapable of defending both belts, or 2, that he's like so good that he you can maybe run for 1 takeover that he defends both belts.
True.
I think the ladder match just makes more sense. I like it. It's going to give an opportunity for guys that normally weren't in the title picture to be in the title picture, because the North American belt, for as good as it is, it's been moved around by a lot of main eventers before they go onto the NXT title.
It's like the clear-cut next step.
Yes, it's like Cole, Velveteen, Gargano, all those guys. It was kind of a stepping stone to the regular belt, which is good. I think that's what your mid-card belt should be. But if Lee already has the other title, he doesn't need the North American as well.
For sure, agree. Yeah. So, like I said, a ladder match for the title. And I like that it doesn't make Keith Lee look weak, too, when he eventually were to lose that title. Instead, he's just giving it up. So, even though he might lose it, TakeOver 30, but that's for a little bit in a couple of minutes. So, we had our qualifying matches. There are 5 spots in the ladder match. Bronson Reed won a crazy good match on NXT against Johnny Gargano, and I can't think of the other one off the top of my head right now. Who else
was it? Finn? I thought
no,
it was
Finn.
No, it wasn't Finn.
Week. It was Johnny, and it doesn't matter. I'll look it up in a second. Great match. I'm good to see Bronson Reed finally get a shot at a title, because he's very underrated and he can move. He's like the Viking Raider. He's a big guy that can move too. Yeah. No, it's good. It's good that he wins, because again, he feels like a guy that they not forget about sometimes, but he's not on every week. Because he's one of those guys that they're gonna reload with. Yeah, and it's Roderick Strong. That was the other one.
Oh yeah,
that's who it was. Yes,
he's just a lost cause.
Yeah, like Adam Cole. He's still, I don't know. He's just floating around now. I guess undisputed, but fun to see Bronson Reed win that match. Thatcher and Lorcan fought again. They're two very technical wrestlers. Fun match to watch. Hard hitting match and very technical. Nothing else really too much happened in NXT except for the Mercedes Martinez joined Robert Stone brand, which is he's
okay.
Yeah, it's just okay.
Yeah,
like whatever. And then the main event was Karrion Kross defeating Dominik Dijakovic. Dijakovic gave Kross the run for his money during that match. It was very entertaining up until Kross put Dijakovic's head in between the post and the steps and just crushed it. Basically.
Yeah.
And then he was knocked out for the rest of the match until Keith Lee came down, and looks like we're setting up for Kross versus
Keith Lee at TakeOver.
That's
way too soon.
Interesting.
I think it's way too soon for that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just
Because here's the thing: if you take the belt off Keith Lee, you're really going to kill, everything he's built up right away. But then the same thing with Karrion Kross. If they're trying to build him as like, NXT's Brock Lesnar, there goes all that momentum.
There's no right winner in this match.
And with no right winner, it's going to be, let's say they do like a no contest. People are going to be mad about that. That's a takeover.
And that's the main event
takeover 30. You can't no contest. I mean, I think the right call has to be
Kross.
You got to give it to Kross.
Got to give it to Kross, I think. It's too soon, and
you're
making Keith Lee look like he can't even defend the title once,
well,
even though he just had this crazy match with Adam Cole.
But that's the thing. Keith Lee's the guy who ended the longest reigning NXT title reign to then have it for what? A cup of coffee and a donut, basically?
Yeah, right? Oh,
that only makes sense if they're pulling Lee up immediately.
But then where are they going to put him?
But that's another NXT name that's just going to get lost in the shuffle again.
As far as and it's bad because as Raw doesn't have main eventers right now, but they don't have heels, and Keith Lee's not a heel.
That's why Adam Cole has to go to Raw eventually.
This is the other thing though. Cole has to move up with the Undisputed Era, which multiple people have said that they might not all move up together. If Cole moves up without the Undisputed Era, why in the world would you ever think he could compete with Drew?
It's so stupid.
Without the help. Yeah. He as far as Cole goes, he, as good as he is.
It enhances his character.
Yes. As good as Cole is, he needs some type of entourage thing that he can fall back on to be that slimy heel.
Hey, like I always say in the show.
Maybe Pat McAfee was right, though.
Ooh, siding with our Colts punter on that one, I guess. Hey,
former Colts punter.
Hey, punter of the decade. Get it right.
Maybe they don't do Kross Lee yet. Maybe they do Kross Dijakovic again at TakeOver 30, and then Kross really beats him because he didn't beat him. He was knocked out,
and then almost forces Keith Lee's hand.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Forces him to give him a title shot.
So
I think that makes sense.
If that's the case, who would you like to see Keith Lee fight at TakeOver 30 then? Finn?
Well, see, that's another problem because everybody's expecting Finn to eventually get another reign with the belt as well.
Throw Gargano in there, maybe. You can't go wrong with that.
Can't go wrong with that at all.
I wouldn't mind him having a rematch with Cole. I mean, I know they probably
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
I mean, the Cole Lee match was good, but they could have another one.
They can have
a much better one.
Yeah.
You might be right. You might be right with that.
I would like that if they did that, and then a number one contenders match between Kross and Dijakovic. I think that works because you can even do the Kross Dijakovic match on the NXT before TakeOver.
That's actually a really good idea. I actually really like that a lot. But any other final words from NXT? Nothing?
No.
Okay, so during the same time from 8 to 10 p.m., there was also All Elite Wrestling. I didn't get to finish All Elite Wrestling, but I read up on everything that basically happened during the show. I just want to get your thoughts on Cody Rhodes and this TNT Championship run. A lot of people are complaining that he's becoming 2010 John Cena, just never losing, always defending the title. I'm not a fan of him with the title, if I'm being honest.
He put himself in a tough spot because obviously, he's the face and the founder of, AEW, one of them.
Yeah.
So whenever, he has any bit of success, people are going to be like, oh, he's just doing it because it's his company type of thing.
Yeah.
Where, at the same time, it's you should give yourself some due at the same time, but at the same time, you don't want to have it come at the cost of enhancing somebody else.
Yeah, I do like who he's facing though. He's bringing indie talent from all over the world basically and giving them a shot.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic.
That's good. Giving them exposure, that's fine.
Yeah.
See, to me, it doesn't remind me necessarily of the Super Cena 2010. It reminds me of the US Open Challenge.
Okay.
Which,
I get that.
And Cena didn't lose those either.
True, very true.
But I don't know. I think at that point, this is probably going to be a little bit of a hot take, I guess. But at the point when Cena was doing the U.S. Open Challenge, I think he was a better wrestler than Cody is now.
Ooh,
I think Cena just like Cody is a good storyteller.
Yeah, very. You saw the match with Dustin and everything.
He's a very good storyteller.
Yeah.
But just wrestling for wrestling's sake, he's not my cup of tea. He's like, and I like Cody. I think everything he did to get AEW to prove that you don't need WWE, I will applaud him for that.
He's built a legitimate second option.
Yes, absolutely. And that was, and a lot of that was him. Just in ring wise, sometimes he loses me a little bit because it's just all storytelling and not many moves and things like that. So his matches can be a little bit more slow and paced out, which is another problem when you only have a 2-hour show and he's guaranteed to be on every single week.
Yeah.
So if you have to take out 20 to 30 minutes of your 2-hour show and give it to Cody, you're now only left with an hour and a half of these other guys that you need to kind of build up. Mm-hmm. And as much as I like him doing the indie guys thing, they're not in AEW.
I know.
So he's not building up anybody.
No,
like I remember
building
his
up
match
himself
early on with Darby, where he made Darby look like a star. And a lot of guys made Darby look really good.
Yeah.
But now it's become the point that it's like, okay, if he keeps doing these indie guys, isn't he just going to keep winning? And then it's like, how long does he hold on to this belt?
Up until Matt Cardona comes into AEW and takes it from him. That's all I'm waiting for. It's possible.
That's a viable option,
It's possible. It's very possible.
I think if there was one to beat him, that'd be the one with the biggest exposure.
That's just selfish me, though, saying that, because I'm a big Zack Ryder fan. But other quick hits from AEW. They announced a Women's Tag Team Cup tournament. So that's great for them because they're going to bring in women from all these other companies probably because they don't have enough women to really have a tournament. Their women's division is lacking. We've known this for the last couple of months. That we've talked about this before, how lacking their women's division is, but has improved a lot. I
was going to say, I think their women's division has taken so many leaps and bounds since the company started.
Yeah.
It really is night and day, I think, from when it started.
Mm-hmm.
Because when it started, it was like, oh, you have Riho and Britt Baker and pretty much nobody.
Now you have Nyla Rose, you got Sheeta, you got a bunch, a lot.
Still have
Anna
Britt.
Jay.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of females now. So I'm glad they're getting a little bit of a platform to showcase. And it's a tag team cup too. Maybe we get women's tag titles. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes sense as well to put more of a focus on the women right now because they're not doing that in WWE.
Yeah.
They've definitively kind of punted on the women's division for right now besides Bayley and Sasha.
And really, other than the 5th year anniversary of the women's evolution, they didn't even really acknowledge it too much on TV. That's just been a hashtag and a social media type of thing. You think that, but also at the same time, it doesn't help that, 2 of the major keys in the evolution are off on personal time.
And, they don't want to give Naomi a good chance to there was a whole hashtag for Naomi, and then they just are going to have Nikki Cross be the number one contender.
They have the audacity to still put Naomi on the show, but against Lacey Evans.
Where it all started.
Like, literally,
where it all started.
Get the picture, guys. Come on. But a couple other things. There's a little tension going on. Hangman Page was offered by Brody Lee to join the Dark Order. That's probably just.
Don't they just offer that to everybody?
They do, but Hangman's the tag champ right now, which they need to lose those titles pretty soon because they've had them for too long.
They've had them for way too long.
They're not even a real team.
They're not a real team, and I don't know. Going into AEW when it first started, I was like, okay, the person who has the most to gain from this potentially could be Hangman Page. Yeah. And I think it's really slipped. When I think of AEW, Hangman is not even who I think of anymore.
No.
He's not even in the conversation.
Yeah, if like a year ago when they announced the company and all that, and when they first started getting, he could have been a world champion. But now I see TNT champion at best.
Yeah.
At best. Like he's a mid-carder right now.
Well, and I also think it didn't, and this is could be the politics side of things, like how AEW doesn't want to do the politics that WWE does. But it seems like Page has been kind of forgotten about since he didn't really want to do the being the elite thing anymore.
Literally.
I mean, it seems like he's really kind of fallen out of favor, and
there's always going to be politics, regardless.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always going to be a favorites game, anywhere.
Yeah. No, and Kenny Omega, in a way, he kind of is just there now too.
I think the Dark Order is interesting, but I think they're on a slippery slope.
Ever since there's no hype around it anymore. Ever since they announced Brody Lee was
he lost.
Honcho.
And he lost.
Yeah, and he lost.
So, I mean, it would have been different maybe if he won, but until they get some titles or until they get some wins.
I get some female. I know they abducted Anna Jay a couple weeks ago, but they need some female would be nice to have in the Dark Order too.
They need something. They need a kick.
Yeah, they need it. And last, but maybe least, I don't know. The Spanish God Sammy Guevara returned after the podcast. Yeah, I know. After that podcast that came out of him saying he would do some stuff to Sasha Banks in a forced way, which was not
disgusting.
AEW is in a hard position here because he made those comments so long ago, as disgusting and vulgar as they were.
But it also then took this long to come out then too.
Yeah. Well, I think people just didn't care because at the time, well, first off, who cares about the whole effing show podcast?
Yeah.
God, it's so bad. Oh my God, I hate them. They're so bad. So nobody really cares about them in the first place. They average 1,000 views on YouTube and claim themselves as a huge brand.
Hell, we're almost there.
Yeah, but still, nobody cares to that degree. But they were in such a hard position because he made those statements so long ago before he was with the company.
Yeah.
So they tried to come out like they were doing the right thing, suspending him without pay, but it felt like he was only suspended for 2 weeks.
Yeah, it felt like no time at all.
That didn't feel like he was properly kind of punished for what he did. Yeah. But I mean, at least AEW had the sense to suspend him for a thing he did so long ago, but I just think the punishment should have
2 months?
been. Yeah, I think.
Time flies, man.
Yeah, when you're time flies when you're in quarantine.
There should be more of a punishment to me because now he's just going back into his inner circle.
Yeah, as if nothing
TV
happened.
slot. Yeah,
literally returned in the main event. All right, well, that's it for the Wednesday Night Wars. Let's just go quickly through SmackDown. Then after SmackDown, we'll get to some hot takes that were submitted by you guys, the fans of the Department podcast. But first, SmackDown. It started with Nikki Cross getting another number one contenders shot at Bayley, and I don't want to see this again, if I'm being honest. I really
Not
don't.
At all.
I don't.
It's because they just have nothing else, and I guess they don't want to put anyone credible in the way of Bayley. I'm not saying Nikki Cross is incredible, but just right now, it's clear Nikki Cross is not going to win.
Now, does Alexa cost Nikki the match? Do we finally get that breakup instead?
Can they afford to break them up when they – I mean, when are Bayley and Sasha going to defend the tag team championship?
They're just props at this point now because the Iconics, they had their little, chances at it and then nothing.
Yeah.
They won the belts, nothing.
That was another thing with the Iconics I didn't touch on Raw. Billie Kay was not on Raw.
It was just
Boyce. So does Billie have Corona? We don't know. She could be another one of those talents that got it from that little stretch a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
it very well could be.
I hope she doesn't, but if she does, best wishes
it seems like with WWE, if they don't mention it and they're just gone. It's COVID.
It's COVID.
Yeah. The women, I mean, I like that they're using the women tag team championships to, like Cole said at Extreme Rules, they're using it to bounce around all the brands.
Yeah.
That's
that's
smart.
good, but also maybe you should defend them once in a while.
But also at the same time, WWE lucked out that they put that rule in a while ago that they can defend on either show because they need them on both shows now.
Literally, they need them because they're literally so entertaining and just so fun to watch.
Yeah.
Other things on SmackDown, an interesting new number one contender to AJ Styles IC championship is Gran Metalik. He won the number one contenders match in a fatal four-way with Lindsay Dorado, Drew Gulak, and Shorty G. So
it'll be a good match. If any of those guys won, it was going to be a good match.
It's not a SummerSlam caliber match, so they're running it next week. So
good.
Fun.
It'll definitely be good. It'll be like a 20-minute TV match.
Yeah,
that'll be solid.
Yeah. Honestly, that's fine. Give new people a chance. It was just weird seeing Metalik and Dorado just wrestling each other.
It's
especially
weird.
The color schemes are the exact same, so it's like, I'm watching out the corner of my eye from watching baseball. I'm like, wait, which one's who?
Yeah. Well, and it's weird because they're doing this with the IC belt with AJ, and then we see Riddle and Corbin still feuding.
Yeah.
But there's also that backdrop of Riddle and AJ.
Yeah, which just stopped.
Which was mentioned and
they probably put that on hold to eventually put it on SummerSlam.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping. Riddle AJ should be a SummerSlam.
And hell, throw Corbin, make it a triple threat.
Let's put to the pre-show
leave
then.
Corbin out.
Corbin is turning into my Dolph Ziggler, where I just don't want him anywhere around a belt because there's always that small likelihood he might win it, and then I would just be disgusted.
He hasn't held the title in a long time.
I don't care. He doesn't need to be. He doesn't need to be around it because I don't want him to have anything. So if he sniffs of a strap of leather or gold or whatever they use, it's too close for him to be near championship.
That's the king you're talking about. I hope you know.
He sucks. He can just barbecue on YouTube for all I care.
That looks good though. What he does looks really good. Gets me hungry. I'll be 1 a.m. just stumbling across my phone watching that. Lovely.
Watching him prepare his meat.
Yes, watching King Corbin prepare his meat. Two last things on SmackDown. Big E got the blessing from Kofi Kingston to become a singles wrestler now. So, hey, Big E Universal Champion's looking kind of nice in the future.
The only way that can happen is if Fiend doesn't get it, obviously. And
if they don't at that point, then what the hell are they doing with Bray?
That's the thing now. I'd rather them work with Bray than with Big E, if I'm being honest. I love Big E, but I'd rather them work with the Fiend.
Yeah, but I don't know. I saw a thing somewhere that somebody said if Braun relinquishes the belt because he lost, and or maybe Braun changes because he lost and becomes kind of a Bray disciple thing, and then Bray, instead of going after the belt, kind of tries to go after other disciples. Then you kind of run a tournament and Big E wins that.
That'd be cool.
I think that makes sense. That's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But I truly don't think this goes anywhere. I think Big E maybe gets an IC run.
Possible.
Which I'm fine with. He deserves a singles belt, though.
Maybe that's
he definitely does.
That could be a SummerSlam match.
That'd be entertaining. I wouldn't mind that.
Honestly, a fatal four-way of AJ, Corbin, Riddle, and Big E.
Fine.
That
if
could
you throw a ladder in there, make it a ladder match.
Woo.
That'd be good.
Yeah, but I'm happy for Big E. He deserves it. Does he bring back his old theme song? 3 ain't enough?
No, they're not.
Oh.
They're still pushing the New Day merchandise.
This is the perfect storm for them, where they can give him his singles run, but not break up the New Day, and they can still make their money with the New Day.
Yeah.
It's the perfect storm.
Yeah. No. And lastly, the SmackDown ended with a bar fight between Sheamus and Jeff Hardy. It was okay. I thought it was pretty good.
Thank God it was on Extreme Rules.
Yeah, right. But then just the interesting thing during this show was Sheamus had put a hat over Jeff Hardy. He took off the hat, and it looked like Willow painting. Willow from TNA. It was
the colors. Well, we also saw Willow briefly, Brother Nero type, way back when they did the knockoff final deletion.
Yes, it was Brother Nero then. But this is Willow.
The color scheme was Willow.
The color scheme was Willow, the gray, black, and white. Are we seeing Willow on SmackDown now? Is that Jeff Hardy's new persona?
we could, because what else is there to do with Jeff? Because, especially if they're going to keep playing to the storyline of Jeff's inner demons, Willow could be the manifestation of those demons physically.
I just feel like I'm seeing this too much now with alter egos and all that.
Rehashing old.
Yeah.
Ray, Finn, Jeff. It's just, I like it, but it's just too much with the alter ego stuff.
It's especially too much if it's all focused. Like, if Jeff went to Raw, I think that fits better.
Yeah.
Than him being on SmackDown.
Because you already have the Fiend on SmackDown doing almost the same thing. Yeah,
exactly.
But that's interesting a little bit right there. It's fun to see something new always, like not the same old stuff.
We'll see if that is anything going forward, or if they just put that in to like make people pop a little bit and talk about it, and then they just don't really go back to it.
Honestly,
because that's kind of what I expect, because I don't think WWE would fully go all in on a thing that they didn't create. Yep. We've seen them not go fully all in with the broken Matt Hardy thing.
For sure.
They want to say that they went all the way in, but they never made Matt a viable threat to anything. They made him a comedy thing. The biggest thing they did was win the Raw Tag Team titles that nobody cared about.
I forgot about that.
Yes, that was the biggest thing broken Matt Hardy did.
The Deleters of Worlds.
The Deleters of Worlds.
Interesting. All right, so that's it from this week in wrestling, but we're not done yet. We're going to take some hot takes that we put up on our Instagram. You can follow us on Instagram at _department_podcast. We put up a story asking you, the fans, the viewers, for some wrestling hot takes, and we're going to get to 2 during this episode. If you submitted a hot take and we didn't read it on this episode, it will probably be read in future episodes, so just stay tuned to that.
Or just keep submitting, and eventually we'll get to one.
That too, keep submitting more. That's fine. I don't care if people submit more than one. Submit 10. I don't care. We're going to go with this first one right here. From Rose.Samori, otherwise known as Samori Rose. AJ Styles is the best big match wrestler in history. Take a minute to think. He's up there for sure.
He's up there.
But there's always John
Cena.
John Cena, Big Match. His name is Big Match John.
The Rock can be up there.
I would say top 5.
He's on the mount. He's in the conversation.
He's in the conversation.
Up there. I think I'd give me Michaels.
I would give you Michaels or John Cena. Honestly,
I'll say so. Cena is Big Match John because he always somehow wins the big ones.
That is true.
Shawn and AJ are top tier because they make every big match feel like a big match. Oh, Taker too.
Oh, I didn't even think about that one.
Taker's a real when you built a Taker match, Taker didn't disappoint you most of the time. Taker. Especially looking at like the Mania. Oh yeah, actually give me Taker.
Honestly,
Triple H too.
Triple H too.
Because any match he's had, even in his later part of his career.
Then at that point, is AJ even top 5 then?
AJ, I still would say is top 5. If he was in WWE longer, we would think of AJ even more as a top guy.
Honestly, I hate to say it, but Hogan too.
Oh God,
Hogan might be because even when he came back for his little stint in WWE,
power.
Yeah, that's what it is. Oh.
But okay, this is my one thing with Hogan and Cena a little bit.
Yeah.
How many of those big matches did they get carried by other guys?
True.
And then how many of those big matches did Michaels, AJ, Undertaker?
They did the carry.
They quarterbacked that. Exactly. They took that.
So definitely Michaels and AJ's in there. I'd say Undertaker too. That's a tough one.
I would put AJ probably number 3 behind Michaels and Taker.
Okay, respectable.
I can agree with that.
Justin, do you agree? Yeah, definitely top 5 for sure, AJ. Even like top 3, like you said. Let's get to one more before we end this podcast. I'm going to go with the hot take submitted by just_YNC2927, otherwise known as Justin. He says, Rey Mysterio should have one more world title run.
Couldn't agree more.
Justin, how about you? What do you think about this one?
If he did, it wouldn't do anything for me. What does it accomplish? And at this point, too, he's going to have to wrestle with an eye patch for a little bit, because that happened. I mean, if they were going to give him a title run, they should have done it before the whole Seth storyline.
Yeah.
Because
when he originally came back to SmackDown.
Yes. It should have been, because now at this point, they're almost in the end game with him. How do you come back from...
They're in the end with nothing built up. All he's done is just lose.
He's had the worst 2020. He's been thrown off a building. He's been choked out. He had his eye poked out. He's just been, a poor man's just whipping boy at that point.
And it's the crazy thing is, though, Ray is so good that if he were to move to, like, Impact or AEW, that's a huge get, which apparently he's re-signing with WWE allegedly.
But they're on a handshake deal right now. They have nothing set in stone. They're literally
allegedly they're negotiating a new deal. But
see, and I feel like that's why they brought him back, was just to keep him away, because they know the power that he would bring.
Yeah. And they have done Ray no favors.
No.
For as long as I can remember.
Him off a building and took out an eye.
Yes.
I'd like to see it, but I think it's a little too late. I do agree it's a little too late. I would like to see it, though, but he's
been back for what, a year now? A little over?
More, I think. When SmackDown...
When did he pop? Did he pop out?
He popped up a couple years ago at the Rumble.
When Nakamura won the Rumble.
Yes.
And he also got... Didn't he get obliterated at WrestleMania last year?
Yeah, Samoa Joe.
Yeah. Then he also got eaten by Brock.
Yes.
So did he return later that year in 2018 then?
He returned later the year that Shinsuke won the Rumble.
So that's 2018.
Because he was there in the Rumble. He was the final 6.
Yes.
And then he didn't appear again for like a couple months.
So we're coming up on 2 years now of Rey Mysterio being with the company on his this run.
It's too little, too late.
It's too late. I think it's too late too. But
put him in NXT.
That would be good.
They need like a couple like vets like that. That'd make it interesting.
Put Ray in there. Put him in the North American title.
In the ladder match?
Yes.
Ooh,
well, I mean, you can't because he only has one eye right now.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
But that would be like have 5 people go in, and then Regal has one last one that he's announcing, and he's like, we just got this guy from the main roster. He's an old friend of mine, and then Ray comes out.
Hey,
that'd be great.
I'd love to see him in NXT or even AEW for that matter. But
yeah,
I'd like to see him to stay in the company though. I think it's better. Just like out of the company, it's just it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't sit with me.
No.
But that being said, if he were to go to Impact, he could totally revolutionize their main event picture.
Yeah. No.
Because he could have Impact has, like you said, a lot of those young guys. Ray can work with all of those guys while putting them over and like having the belt on him.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
You're right. All right. Any last words about this episode, fellas? No.
Nothing that I got.
All right. So that does it for episode 4 of the Department Podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget you could subscribe to us on YouTube. Just search The Department Podcast. Follow us on Instagram at @the_department_podcast. Follow us on Twitter at @TheDepartmentP1. But remember, we're not only posted on YouTube now. We are on all of your favorite podcast apps, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Thank you for listening. We'll be back soon.